Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 480. This is your guide to the geek side, and I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, joined by Charlie Carden.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Wonderful Midwestern heat wave. Good thing that climate change is a myth. So, there must be some other reason that it's 90 degrees in here with, 97% humidity. It's great.
Well, if you want a way to cool off, go to the movie theaters.
Oh,
that's what we used to do in the past.
That is very true. Although we have a weird weekend at the movies. We don't have a big hitter coming out until next week. I think The Quiet Place, the prequel, comes out. But this week it's that Bike Riders movie, which I'd still like to see. The one with Tom
That'll
Hardy
bring in all the kids, Tom Hardy and Elvis.
And Elvis. Tom Hardy. So you got Bane and Elvis on motorcycles. Oh, but anyway, no. We're having a good time. Tonight is the West Michigan Whitecaps Star Wars night, and it's second year in a row we're going as a chapter, the USS Grand Petoskey, our SFI chapter. So we're kind of excited about that. But yeah, we're here and we're talking about geek stuff as we always do. But before we do, we of course love to pay homage and pay the bills with a little plug for our Secret Friends Unite Patreon squad over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. You can visit that website. Try out our wares for 7 days for free. Also get ad-free versions of our shows. And try out our additional content. As I said, Todd and I do a great show called Spinnerack where we talk about some comics. I do a show called The Facts Geek Life where we take a classic series and a season of that, myself and a guest breakdown a handful of episodes. We're always having a good time. On our Friends with Benefits with Level over there in the squad is John Sedorf, the Phoenix Sisters cosplay, Brendan Myers, Corey and HD, and Matthew Keel, our BFFs, the delightful Nias family of the Twin Cities, Sean, Stella, and Henry. We are very grateful for all of you and what you contribute to what we do here. So again, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite if you're listening on one of our free feeds and want to get rid of those pesky commercials and hear more about the stuff that we love and enjoy. That's where you find us. So speaking of loving enjoyment, my goodness, this is a British. I see it's actually a Brit title. From September of 1988, we have Thundercats and the Galaxy Rangers. So some kind of British mashup. Yes, 24th September, issue 80 for 38p. We'll get you this wonderful piece of work. What do we got going on here? What do we got going on here?
Oh, Charlie. So this is a British publication that Marvel published overseas. They had created their UK arm back in the day. So essentially the Thundercats comics in the US ended at issue 25. But it actually went to 125 in the UK. Very similar to what happened with the Transformers in the UK. It continued on after the US version died off. So this is that version of what it was in the UK. And Galaxy Rangers, a lot of people may not remember this cartoon.
That sounds familiar.
Kick-ass theme song, really cool. It was basically these guys in the Old West. These were the lawmen that would come in on these cyber horses and defeat crime in the Old West in Spaceville. So it was kind of like
Spaceville.
Spacetown. And it was really a cool show. I really liked it. It was unique art style, great theme song, but I didn't even know they had a comic book. But apparently, once again, they had a comic book here. And I tried to find out information about it. There isn't, but it's a lot of original stories. I mean, the original Thundercats ran for 100, like the actual cartoon, 125 episodes.
Really?
And,
I feel like it was a flash in the pan. It was like
4 seasons. 4 seasons. Yeah.
Right.
The first season was 65 episodes. And then they did another 60 episodes, but it was put out over 3 more seasons.
That even the G.I. Joe cartoon, which was, I was talking about this with my cousin yesterday, was so wildly popular that it led, that even just after 3 or 4 years of it being around, led to the production of the largest toy vehicle in the history of toys, the USS Flag. But the cartoon itself was only what had 3 miniseries. The third miniseries led into only 2 seasons of a show. Then it had a TV movie, which was direct to video. It was offered.
Well, we're not talking about G.I. Joe. We're talking about Thundercats and Galaxy Rangers.
But anyway, yes, I'm on a tangent. But this does remind me of another British publication that could be related to G.I. Joe, but I won't bring it up. So here's a question about British Marvel. Is it now gone? Because you just don't hear anything about it. So I would assume
it's just nothing original now. It is just they publish what they do in the US over in the UK. But they had some really unique issues. Destro had a few others. I think that Britain, I think it has done run for a while.
It's pretty impressive that the Thundercats, which seems very niche to me, and because of course it's for guys of our age, and the Transformers was such the bigger hit over in the UK. I think that's fascinating. I think your big toy company over there was Palitoy, if I'm not mistaken, at least an arm of Kenner, or something. That just rings a bell. But anyway, fantastic. Well, if I'm not mistaken, back in the 80s, someone who had a hand in some of these British Marvel publications, somebody who kind of had a finger in every pie, was our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. Working behind the shadows to orchestrate all things entertainment. This definitely would have been her bag. But these days, she's cooling her heels out in that California sun, down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, with the latest scoops for us. So let's go check it out.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Well, yes, as we talked about, Marvel had the UK imprint. Well, you helped Marvel form a imprint in Bolivia. And you brought in characters such as the Care Bears, Rainbow Bright, and also Casper. And you had them create a new character just based on you. And it was called Madam Mayhem. And you know what? You got mad at the little orphans. You threw bricks at them. You collected cats. And it didn't do very well.
Well, hopefully she wasn't also running a big cartel, because when I hear Bolivia, I think of, Bolivian marching powder. Oh, hopefully she wasn't involved in that.
Maybe it was just the cover. They actually were, Marvel was interested in a drug ring and let Madam Webb run the comics and that'll launder the money.
Yes, please don't come find us now, Disney.
What is this white coating in all these boxes?
Exactly. Yeah, what came in the box from Diamond? I don't understand. Oh my gosh. Well, speaking about things that are horrible, now Todd, shame on you. You've not seen the first film, so you didn't get to see Sophie Bacon give us that beautiful smile. But now Smile is getting a sequel with a poor man's Lady Gaga. What's going on here? Talk to me about this trailer.
Yeah, so Smile 1 did very well a couple of years ago. I think it was 2022, 2023.
Yeah.
Getting a sequel. I've not seen it. I am intrigued. And they really missed it, Charlie. It should have been called Smiles, not just Smile 2, because, more than one.
And there's more than one smilings in this, because as you see in this trailer, the whole smiling thing, not to spoil too much of it, and obviously I don't see any inherent connection to the first film, especially because of the way it ends, which Todd, I won't spoil for you, that if someone witnesses a specter causing another person to take their own life, death becomes attached to the person who lives in that scenario, and then it follows them around, and then they'll see people smiling creepily at them, and either people are there or they aren't there, but they'll give them this big Joker Rictus smile, and it's a horrible madness. And this movie looks absolutely nuts. So we're gonna have a Smile, maybe a Smile spoiler cast. Maybe you and I'll go see this, but maybe the week beforehand we'll talk about the previous film, because this looks like the jam. So are you in? Are you ready to smile?
I want to see the first one. And so when you mention the fact that if you see this, then it's passed along to you.
Right.
So the trailer, basically we see her friend comes into the room, breaks in and says, "Oh my God, I'm seeing something." He looks up, gets a smile on his face, kills himself. And this is just in the trailer, so it's not good.
Right.
But then she sees that happen. So eventually it's been passed along to her, right?
Right. So that there's some kind of a specter or
Yeah.
ghost that haunts. It's kind of like the Ring, where you see the video and then
Sure.
7 days later you die.
Okay.
Kind of the vibe of
And like it follows, right? It passes it along, and
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So the woman in question is some kind of pop star, but who looks very Lady Gaga esque. With the short blonde hair and the funky outfits and stuff. So this looks great. I'm assuming, though I don't have the link open, I'm assuming this is dropping in September, October.
I can tell you in a second, because basically we're going to talk about all of the horror films coming out in 2024. Right. This one comes out October 18th.
Oh, very good. Right during smoking time. So yes, that's my proposal. We should have a spoiler cast around this film because it'll be Shocktober. And the week that precedes it, or one of the weeks precedes it, we should talk about the first film. If you watch it and like it, and then I'll rewatch it and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I just got to squeeze it in. I mean, we've got time. It's we've got Shocktober. It's right in the wheelhouse. So maybe we do that before Shocktober, and then we watch this. So we'll see.
Gotcha. Very good. And as you said, doglegging into talking about horror films between now and the end of the year, we've got a list of some other films that we've already been talking about, including A Quiet Place Day One, which actually comes out next week, June 28th. The Beginning, so it's a prequel to the first movie. You don't have Tuna in it. You don't have Tuna's wife or Tuna's kids. But you've got Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, and Alex Wolff from the Naked Brothers band. That kid's still working. I hope he has a guitar. I want to see him swinging a guitar around. That would be great. And then you do have. I know. Well, I recognize the name. But you also have the
Vaccine.
The black. Yeah. No. I was still in the film. The black actor. Who's in Guardians?
It does not say it on the list here, so I don't remember.
It's in the trailer. But anyway, apparently his appearance created some kind of continuity gap because he's in the second one, that same character, and I don't know. So I'm confused. But yes, Maxine, we have the return of Todd's favorite female actress, Mia Goth.
Not a real name. I don't believe it.
Yeah. Have you seen that? Yeah. Have you seen that movie X? That
I haven't seen any of these films yet. And I probably should watch them. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, it's so graphic that But anyway, Mia Goth kind of has a niche where she plays kind of a sexually liberated woman, and it looks like this is an adaptation of a basically an adult film star in the 1980s. That is centered around Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley, where apparently a lot of pornography is produced, apparently, and a string of serial murders that happened there that were somewhat evocative of the Son of Sam, which happened in New York City at the end of the 1970s. So yes, and what a cast! Elizabeth Debicki, Giancarlo Esposito, Kevin Bacon, and Halsey, who is I like Halsey, she's a pop star. So that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, everything I see on the trailer, that looks awesome. I need to dig in. I don't know when I'll be able to do it. My life in the next 2 or 3 weeks is a little bit crazy.
Oh, for sure. You'll get past it. All right. Okay. I talked about the first two. So what else we got here?
So we've got Long Legs coming out July 12th, and I've been hearing a lot about this film. This is one of the scariest films people have ever seen, which I don't know if that's just hyping it up. But this film is directed by Oz Perkins, which is funny because he's the son of Anthony Perkins from Psycho. Yeah. And he has helmed The Blackcoat's Daughter, I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, and Gretel and Hansel, and Long Legs.
Bop. Fondue, Bob. Yes, Gretel Hansen.
Correct. And Longleg appears to continue that streak with a story about serial killings and occult practices. It follows, and the guest alum Micah Monroe play the FBI rookie assigned to the case, and the great Nicolas Cage plays the serial killer, threatening to blow apart the low-key vibes that made Perkins' previous movies so great. So this kind of gives me vibe of almost like The Black Phone or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But
could be a sleeper. Wow.
Yeah. And this one is neon, so this will get a release in the theaters and then maybe streaming shortly after. Might be on Shudder.
Cool.
I don't know. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I I can do the next one too. Cuckoo, August 2nd. It stars Euphoria breakout Hunter Schafer as the lead. Writer and written and directed by Tillman Singer. Schafer plays Gretchen, an American teen who goes with her father and his new family to a resort in the Alps. There she encounters the devious Mr. Koenig, played by Dan Stevens, who's having a renaissance.
Oh, yeah. He's a Dan Stevens renaissance. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So he apparently has plans for Gretchen and her sister. So
sounds bad.
Once again, another horror film. This is also by Neon. So we got Longlegs and Cuckoo, both by Neon.
Looking to have a bit of a summer. This next one we've talked about. This is the next M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong film, Trap. Which again, much like a lot of his films, is like, this is just not the way people talk, but whatever. No, this is starring Josh Hartnett, heartthrob from the late 1990s, where we find out that he, in taking his daughter to a pop concert where the pop star is M. Night Shyamalan's daughter in real life, is an actual serial killer who, gets a blip on his phone, so he has to go into a bathroom stall and bring up the camera where he has his victim stored in his basement. But the police are surrounding the arena, and he's got to get out. So that's what the film is about. So
it's like a reverse. It's like a reverse Sting, which makes it really interesting. So and it's different, which I respect.
I hope for a big turnaround, because M. Night Shyamalan's films, even at best, are like 50% of it is like, old, The Beach That Makes You Get Old, and what was another one of his? Oh, the one about the grandparents or whatever. It was just, he just can't write. He writes people like George Lucas writes people, as far as the way they talk, and it's really, it pulls you out of the movie because it feels so very fake.
The last one we did, but that was an adaptation of a book. So the material, you can only do so much if you've got bad material or you've got poor writing.
Yeah, exactly correct. And then I'll grab this next one because I got hopes beyond hope this movie's going to be a hit, but I really expect to be disappointed. And that is a interquill in the Alien series. It's called Alien Romulus for August 16th. Fede Alvarez is the director. He gave us a remake of The Evil Dead, which I have not seen, but it looked absolutely terrifying. And Don't Breathe. I think I saw that one. That one was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It's about a break-in, and it wasn't the guy blind, but he was also like Jack Bauer, so he was like shooting at him and stuff. But this is looks to set between Alien, the original film from 1979, and Aliens, the iconic classic from 1986. About it's the same thing. A group of people find a ship that has the face huggers on them, and then the trailers, and then all hell breaks loose. The trailers have been, I think, very exciting. Some people running down one of these very sterile looking white hallways with 50 face huggers, chase them like they were cats.
Yeah, and they have no weapons like the Colonial Marines, so it makes for a far different experience.
You have the little sleeper tubes, and you're panning along. You see one that's open with blood splattered absolutely everywhere. So it looks truly horrendous. My honest God feeling is that it probably is not really gonna deliver, but it's closer to the bottom of my top 10, so that's a good thing. All right. Oh boy, is this a remake of Deliverance that's up next?
No, it is not. It is not. The Deliverance is not getting a remake. No.
Oh, okay.
No. But this is Lee Daniels, who has been a director, done indie stuff. He did Precious. Remember Sapphire. Whatever. But he's doing horror, which is I like as a. Okay. Well, this is a Netflix release, so quite honestly, it's going to. There's not much here about it, so we can skip that one. But if you want a horror film on Netflix, go there. I'll hit the next one though. Blink Twice. August 23rd. Zoe Kravitz, who we know her dad Lenny, and she has been an actress. She's directing this one, and she's already done a movie before called Blink Twice. This is her movie, Blink Twice. Sorry.
Just blink once.
Yes, exactly. So basically, this is about Naomi Aki, who is a waitress who is invited to the island of a charismatic tech mogul, Channing Tatum, playing at type. We always think of him as a tech mogul, not dancing or leading G.I. Joe. He turns out the rich people are up to no good, leading to a story that feels like a darker version of Glass Onion. This one could be interesting. I did see the trailer. It looked fairly creepy.
Nice. Moving on to the next thing that I predict will be trash and will fail will be the remake of The Crow on August 24th. I saw this trailer again recently, and holy crap. Gen Xers hate everything, but they really hate it when younger generations steal their culture. Nailed it. You can, get off my lawn with The Crow. The Crow was such a seminal film for us as Gen Xers.
Oh yeah,
We talked about,
great
we talked
soundtrack.
about it. Yeah, we talked about it on this show maybe 2 years ago in the summertime because we were doing a series on 90s movies and how they hold up. But yeah, you've got Eric Draven is the guy from it. He's a Skarsgård. And FKA Twigs, that's not, it looks terrible, Todd. I don't know what else to really say about this.
I don't know why they are going after recreating the same story when they could do something new with The Crow and do something different.
Right.
But you know what? They must have the rights, and we'll see how this goes.
Maybe it's one of those they got to use it or they lose it. So, not a case of use it or lose it, but case of a heritage sequel that I have hopes for is Beetlejuice, which we will get in September. Tim Burton's classic 1988 film, which was a stalwart of our childhood, with, of course, Michael Keaton before Batman. And then we had not returning roles from Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, but we are getting back in the cast Winona Ryder, who was young Lydia in the film. We get her daughter, she's everywhere, Jenna Ortega. And then, of course, we get Catherine O'Hara back, but not the dad. For reasons we won't say.
It happens.
And then they've got some, new cast members, including Willem Dafoe. And I think that they're adding on Monica Bellucci as Beetlejuice's wife. I thought I read that somewhere. It doesn't say that here. I think that that's fantastic. I like it. All right, I've seen it. I was gonna say I've seen a trailer for this next one, but why don't you?
Yeah. Speak No Evil, September 13th. This one is basically an adaptation of a Danish film called Speak No Evil. It's being brought back. Christian Tadruff is directing this, but this one is really interesting because it's about kind of a conversation we had earlier, Charlie, about adults meeting another couple. They become friends very quickly, and one of those friends is James McAvoy. They basically invite them to their house, and they mentioned he's a doctor, and then you just find out that essentially, nope, can't trust him. He's changed some bits of his story, and things are going downhill very quickly, very erratic. And James McAvoy is very
terrifying in this bit. Without a doubt about it. So that seems like this would be a scary one to watch. But let's see what else we got. Oh boy, I guess I scrolled down a little too far. Speaking of the Substance on the 20th of September. Sounds like foreign film, French film.
The Substance is not a French film.
Well, no, it says French filmmaker. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's the next one.
Yeah, so The Substance, basically, Demi Moore plays a fitness icon who gets fired at age 50, seeks out a disturbing treatment called The Substance. Moore plays alongside Dennis Quaid and Margaret Qualley, make it one of the most anticipated movies of the year. So this sounds like it's going to be like A Devil's Curse, Monkey's Paw. Right. But the stuff was a great film. We should definitely watch that if you have not seen it. But this one is to be good.
We got a 1-2 punch. We got another French filmmaker with Never Let Go. Let's see here. Hopes to be
get to the last 3 sentences.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. There we go. The film follows the family of a child who may or may not be possessed. Okay. Otherwise, there's a lot of talk about how great.
And Halle Berry is in the lead. So see how this one goes.
Well, we already talked about Smile 2. That's October 18. We have the third film in the Terrifier saga. Surprise horror hit in 2022. I do not recall.
They are very tiny films that have made a lot of money and now have a cult following. They are available to watch on some services, but man, they are extreme gore. Is what I understand.
It says extreme gore and implicit misogyny of the Terrifier films aren't for everyone, but even the squeamish can appreciate the David Howard Thornton's brilliant silent performance as Art, who I assume is pictured
creepy
in
clown. Yeah.
Oh my God, we've talked a lot about Venom, which will be out on October 5th.
October 25th.
That's what I said.
Yep.
We've talked about it.
I'm just saying we have talked about it. Yep. We don't have to talk about it. Yep.
Oh, Night Bitch, December 6th movie about my ex-wife. Oh, the title signifies the title signifies one of two things: either a desperate cash grab that has nothing going for it, but a shocking name. Example: Snakes on a Plane. Is that a shocking name?
Yep. So you can skip down to the last third sentence.
A passion project of Amy Adams, who plays the lead role in an adaptation of Heller Rachel Yoder's novel about a homemaker who believes she's transforming into a dog. I think I saw a trailer for this. They didn't post one.
I did not, but it could be interesting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Nosferatu on December 25th. Robert Eggers, who's done some great films, The Witch, Lighthouse, Northman, which we liked. He's teaming up with Bill Skarsgård, who's going to play the vampire Count Orlok, whom Eggers is hyped up as completely transformed. He'll be joined by Nicholas Hoult as Jonathan Harker. Let's see, Willem Dafoe as the vampire hunter, Eben Eberhard Van Franz.
And comes out on Christmas. We have a TBA, but Todd,
a lot of TBA, so we can probably move on.
Yeah, April and I went to go see this film, and it's hard to know when we're not going to see the next part. So yeah, let's skip the TBAs. We're good. I think we've gone long enough.
Correct.
But yes, The Strangers Part 2. But got to get back with me about that. So, anything really jumping out at you? What's the most?
It's horror films. I mean, we'll see more trailers and we'll see what's coming out. Yeah. But you know what? Spooky season is always a good time. You know what else is a good time, Charlie? The fact that Megan, the dream girl, who is also getting a sequel, is also getting a spin-off called Soulmate with an 8 from Blumhouse and Atomic Monster.
They're going to have a lot of fun with that on the Weekly Planet.
Oh, yes.
They're the great mates. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So essentially it's described as an erotic thriller with a technological twist. And basically it's, obviously we've got artificial intelligence gone wrong, but in this instance, we get an attempt to create a truly sentient partner. He inadvertently turns a harmless love bot into a deadly soulmate.
Harmless love bot. Yeah, a guy trying to cope with the loss of his recently deceased wife makes a bot that he can single white female / hand that rocks the cradle have a crazy relationship with. Dated for January 2nd of 2026. So 18 months out before you can watch a sex robot movie. So yeah, we do.
What could go wrong with any of that?
I'm sure that genitals will not be severed.
Have you heard the song, Charlie? Never Trust a Puppet?
No.
Haywood Banks.
Hum me a few bars.
Never trust a puppet. Puppets are insincere. Great song. It's so funny. We love it. We're a big fan of it in our household.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that sounds like fun. I'm totally down with that. And the creative team is let's see here.
Well, James Wan's writing it, which is great.
Right. Katie Dolan, You Are Not My Mother, is something that she did from a script written by Raphael Jordan, Salvage Marines. Okay, those two films I've not heard, but like you said, James Wan and Blumhouse himself, Jason Blum, will be producing along with James Wan. So yeah, I'm all about it. Sex robot movies.
I can't wait to see who they
who's going to be the sex robot
as the soulmate.
Oh, yes. It'll be Mia Goth. Guaranteed.
Sorry, Madam Webb, you lose out. Elderly singles in your area are looking for you.
Are looking for robots like you. So, Todd, 1987 gave us probably the best film of the latter half of Mel Brooks' career, in my opinion, which would be Spaceballs. We all loved it. We were junior high, headed into high school. We all loved Star Wars, Star Trek, Space 1999, Battlestar Galactica, things of that nature. And so this was the lampoon that Mel Brooks was famous for. He did it with Westerns and Blazing Saddles. He did it further on of the Robin Hood films in the 90s with Robin Hood Men in
Young
Tights.
Frankenstein, probably my favorite Mel Brooks film. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it's, Blazing Saddles. I find it to be the best comedy of all time, but I digress just because it's so audacious. But regardless, Josh Gad is set to be starring in an actual sequel for this made by Amazon MGM, meaning this will be on Amazon, I'm assuming, or potentially a theatrical release. But regardless,
makes sense because they already did History of the World Part 2 together, and that was Mel Brooks. It was on Prime, so it makes sense that that's where they would land.
Gotcha. So yeah, Josh Greenbaum will direct from a screenplay, yada, yada, yada. Project is in early stages, plot details kept under wraps. Amazon declining to comment. So hey, not a lot that we can say about it except that we are, again, very exciting. Would be tough for a lot of the stars to come back, but is Bill Pullman is still around. It's Bill Paxton
who's the two Bills, so it's got like the guys who you don't know which one you're talking about until you see their face.
Right. And John Candy, of course, passed away. He was another star of the original film. Daphne Zuniga is still around. Rick Moranis is still around, but retired. And then, of course, Mel Brooks himself. Let's hope they do this quickly because he's I think he's in his late 90s by this point. He's not a young man. He's Betty White old.
I don't think he's been called a young man in 70 years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But anyway, this is very exciting. But yeah, I assume you watch all of the History of the World Part 2.
I didn't finish it, but I really enjoyed it. It hits and misses what they've done. I did enjoy it quite a bit, but I am curious, Charlie, with this, where do they go? Are they going to stick with Star Wars for their main focus? Will they hit other science fiction? There was a Spaceballs animated series, which was horrible.
Yeah,
so,
I guess that's why nobody ever talks about it because it was so bad.
I don't think they can go back to the original trilogy because unfortunately all those jokes have been told a billion times and they're not funny anymore because it's like
I'm simply fearful, and I hope that Mel didn't really do it in History of the World, though I'm not as well versed in it. I've seen it, but as far as kind of drilling down, doing like the same bits over and over again, I hope that's not what happens. You know what I mean?
Josh Gad's involved. He's a pretty funny guy, pretty timely, topical. He's young, so is he going to hit on? Is it going to be like more like those horrible like spoof films we got in like the mid 2000s, like superhero film, disaster film? Movie. Yeah, I hope it's not like those or epic movie. All those were horrible. I hope they can add a little bit of, based on what I saw with the History of the World Part 2, it seems like they're going to get the list of regulars, like what's his name, like a lot of the folks that are in At Midnight. A lot of the comedians that way.
You're basically your LA comedy scene. Basically, you're kind of Netflix is a joke kind of group. Yeah,
exactly. It's Mel Brooks. He typically brings in a lot of people that are devotees to him, so he commands that level of love. And I'm just wondering if it's going to be prequel or if they're just going to like prequel, sequel, Mandalorian. Everything will be in scope.
Yeah, no, I hope so. And they dabbled little touches of other sci-fi, little Star Trek. They made little Star Trek jokes here and there. Yeah, the beaming works on Star Trek, and it beams him, with his head on backwards or something. So things of that nature. So all right, well, cool. I would imagine if it's an early production, feels to me like a 2026 probably.
Yeah,
I would have a vibe on that. So finally, here is a comic that we read. Did we do that one for the Patreon or was it before that? I can't.
We did for the Patreon. We did it.
Okay, gotcha. We did it for the Patreon. But DC's Human Target is being developed by DC Studio. Now they're calling themselves DC Studios. I think that's new. That's under gun. That's under the gun.
Yes, it would be under the gun.
Oh, yes, indeed. But as being developed as a television, Human Target being developed as a television series for HBO Max, or just Max if you prefer. But yeah, that's a cool book. Jog my memory on what the guy does. He's a kind of
he disguises himself. He's a master of disguise. Goes on, takes cases, try to basically either be kind of like someone that would get, like, if someone's going to get assassinated or there's a warning, he would pose as the person that was going to get assassinated or fill in or yeah.
And there was a television version of it. This I remember in 2010, starring actor Mark Valley as Christopher Chance, the main character,
which I never watched.
He had a different show where he played Eddie something or other, and his tagline, it was on Fox or something. His catchphrase was like, "I'm Eddie. How do you like me now? Or do you like me so far?" I'm Eddie.
How you like me now? That song.
How you like me now? No, he said, "How do you like me so far?" But that seems like fun. I think.
Do you know Rick Springfield also played the Human Target in 1992?
I love that. Yeah, that was definitely between albums for him because Rick Springfield does continue to dabble in acting. He did a season.
So I'm taking that you did not watch it, or you did?
I don't even know where it is. No, I was not aware of that. So
Okay.
I do absolutely love Rick Springfield, though. I'm his
Yeah.
number one fan. I'm his number one fan who doesn't want to sleep with him.
Yeah. So if you want, because you can watch our Patreon, if you're on our Patreon, you can watch those old episodes where we covered the Human Target, which was great. But essentially the byline is Christopher Chance has 12 days to solve his own murder. Superstar
Right.
writer Tom King and acclaimed artist Greg Smallwood team for a new noir examination of a classic DC character. Basically, he meddles with a lot of the metas in the DC universe. So like, it basically gets in a lot of cases where they're involved. So what would make this work is you're going to get the Human Target along with a lot of DC cameos and characters. And the fact that this is going to be a TV series, it's probably going to feel like The Boys a little bit and kind of like Alias, like Jessica Jones.
But
have
hopefully
that
not
vibe.
like, what was that show? Powerless. That was the network show. Remember that one where it was like a superhuman cleanup with Alan Tudyk and
I love that show. It's cute and funny.
I loved
It was a
it. I loved
sitcom.
it.
Yeah.
I loved it too, but it was a flop. It got canceled, which is a shame.
Yeah, I did enjoy that quite. Ron Funches, Danny Putty.
Yeah. They all worked at. It was like basically Damage Control that was part of Wayne Enterprises.
It was done by Bruce Wayne's cousin. Yeah. Alan Tudyk playing that role. It was great. Yeah, great show. I actually own that series on Vudu. So,
gotcha.
Yeah,
his cousin Bruce Wayne.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I think this makes sense. Gunn and Safran are executive producing this, so I think I like what they're doing, going after stories that are really good in comics and adapting and putting on the screen, and they're going to capture all different type of audience. So I'm digging what they're dropping. James Gunn is a cool dude, man.
You think he's going to really turn things around for DC on the screens, both big and small?
I hope so, but the dude really hasn't missed, and he brings in some sensibilities that aren't just what we've seen DC do in the past, which is kind of use the old platform that Batman did in 1989 and keep going with that.
Yeah, right. Everything's dark. It gets so dark that even when you turn the lights off, you can't see what's going on.
I mean, we've seen Peacemaker, Charlie. If that tells you anything what Gunn can do, and the last Suicide Squad.
That's good stuff.
He's got the keys to the kingdom.
That was a fun one, too. All right. Well, that takes us out of the news. Todd, got to get out my phone. Got to get out that Fuber app, that feeble Uber app, because the Geek Easy awaits. Got to get down to Scuggsville, Nasty Town, in this gross cab with its AM/FM radio. Turns on the dial, and then I hear this ad.
Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to Zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. For me this week, normally I don't talk about video games, but I did play a demo of the G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra game. So there's a trailer out there you can watch. There's a demo, and there's also some gameplay they are finally showing. This game is a old school brawler beat 'em up. Not a lot to it. It's kind of like the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game or the Simpsons game. It's got essentially 3 main characters you can choose from: Duke, Snake Eyes, and
Scarlet, right? Yeah,
Yep.
I thought I saw Gung Ho, or was that just
maybe he was in there? He wasn't in the demo that I could play, which is fine. I got to play 2 levels.
What did you play it on? Is it just on Switch or?
No. It's. I mean, I played it on Steam for the demo, which is on PC. But it is coming to PlayStation 4, Switch, maybe Xbox. So
PlayStation 4,
Quattro, yes.
5?
Quattro.
So I can go buy. Well, you're telling me I can go buy it?
Correct. Yes.
This I will do. You have my commitment, and I will come on your show and talk about it.
Yes, and the cool part is it can play couch co-op, like side by side, or online co-op. So you and I can actually play it together, Charlie, as long as you have PlayStation Network.
I have in the past. I don't think I have it currently.
You can sign up for like a year, and you get free games, and it's like
it's like $60 or something. Yeah, let's do that. Well, okay, what's the release date?
This one, I don't know if they actually had a release date for it. It's coming out this fall. So it's coming, and we'll see. It's available.
Okay, great.
No date, but I'll let you know. But it will be.
I would imagine if there's a demo out that it's got to be pretty quickly, right? So the trailer looks fun. They just bit it. They just took the little intro bits directly from the classic Sunbow series. So even the classic, always when they end with Joe's like, it's what you see right behind me.
Yeah. So they did do some new animation, which is fun. It's got a different theme song, which is interesting. And I love the bad guy types you're fighting. You know, you get like the Hiss tank, but then you get like the Cobra giant robot thing.
Oh yeah, that was from the '84 miniseries where they had to go to the temple. They had to go into this temple because that whole series was about recovering pieces of the weather dominator that had fallen to Earth. And one was in the temple of death, and the other one was on the roof of the world. This was in the temple, but it was that Cobra robot. But in the temple, there was like an Aztec god robot, and the two of them fought, and then they ended up falling down a chasm. That was the end of one of the episodes, and Lady J had to save, I think, Shipwreck and Flint with one of her spears that had a net in it. Oh, now I want to go back. That was my favorite miniseries because
there you go.
As I very briefly, as I've told you, when I was a kid, because my mom worked at a TV station that showed the show, she was able to tape that miniseries, bring it home on a VHS. But the problem was it was a direct unedited, so there were breaks for the commercials. There was like a 2.5 minutes
and nothing there.
So you'd have to fast forward and then then back up. But I probably watched it 100 times. I imagine you did. I know that script bit by bit. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So this is coming out. It looks a lot of fun. I'm glad they're doing this. We just had a Teenage Mutant Turtle ones that happened with the same kind of gameplay. You're getting a Power Rangers one. So I'm all for all of these properties getting these type of games.
Yeah.
So
it's fun. I will commit to playing. So yeah, I'm totally down with that.
It's low on skill, high on fun.
There we go. And then speaking of high on smarts, but not so many people eaten by dragons, what happened over on HBO Max last Sunday?
Yes. House of the Dragon Season 2 launched on HBO Max, or Max, the one to watch. And this is getting your weekly drop. It's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern every Sunday, which means that every week you'll get a chance to absorb it, think about it, and then know what's going to happen versus feeling like I have to catch up because they've all dropped and I'm now getting spoiled.
Right. Which is what we're getting with Star Trek Prodigy week after next. All 20 episodes on the same day.
Yeah. So this is essentially starting right after this last season ended. We've got Princess Rhaenyra grieving her son dying. And she's looking for a piece of her son to burn so they can memorialize him. Then she does find that in the dragon's wing. We are getting a lot of machinations with Matt Smith's character, where he wants to do something, but he feels like because he's not going to be the king, he's basically the queen's consort. He gets no love. He gets no like powers of ability. So he feels like he's going to take some things on his own to move the plot forward, regardless if he gets permission or not. we get the king, who essentially has a wife who's we think is crazy, but we don't. She's not actually crazy. She's a little bit of clairvoyant because she's worried about
Ooh.
rats. And for those who watch this, we'll find
Don't
out
like
why
rats.
that is important. But Charlie, this show does not disappoint. It's well written, well directed, greatly acted, and
Yeah.
kind of the great part about Game of Thrones, which is just politics with a little bit of fantasy thrown in. And I'm
Right.
like, everybody choose the
Yeah,
scenery.
you're right. You're right. It's not too heavy, but it also doesn't rely too heartily on your depth of knowledge of the previous series, which is always a holdback when something's a prequel, right? You'd be like, oh well, kind of like I told you about like Lower Decks. It's accessible in a way because it's fun and it's funny, but it's also sprinkled with a lot of Easter eggs that you can go, oh yeah, okay. But the plot isn't just driven by those Easter eggs. That's the danger of any prequel, in my opinion, is that when you really hinge the plot line on something that people maybe haven't seen or don't have a way to have access to, that you lose momentum. And this doesn't do that. I'm not even a fantasy guy and I enjoy this. It's very riveting. It's on and at 9:00, appointment viewing, put the phone down. I'm paying attention, which is a lot for me and my ADD to put down my phone and pay attention to anything. But yeah, no, this is good stuff. This is good stuff as opposed to this next thing that you're going to talk about.
Yeah. So, and what I love is at the end of the episodes, they do like hey, this is coming up next, but then they do the kind of the recap of what happened and also talk to the actors. It's one of my favorite things because they give you more context.
The BTS. Yeah.
I love it. It's neat.
Yeah.
It's neat to have it.
Yeah, that's very standard for in a lot of shows. I do that with the Star Trek as well.
Acolyte episode 4 came out. I could have talked about the boys, but I rather we'll have more to talk about the boys later on. Acolyte episode 4, though, I feel like we're at prime. This is the Star Wars that everybody is kind of used to now. It's not like doing anything like, oh my God, it's pretty much kind of telling its story. We get a little bit of flim flam with, who really is, Smilo Ren, as we're calling him now.
Smilo Ren, yes.
Yep. And with this, I don't feel like it made me that excited. It was pretty much state of Star Wars. Stuff happens. It happens like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to think. It's not the worst thing in the world which people talk about. It's just,
right.
I think we know who the big bad is because I think there's some flim flam going on. And then what will it mean? What will it all mean after this is done? What will it all mean?
Yeah, that's very true. If you drill down on this by listening to Hollow Crime Chronicles, which actually came out late last week, that would be myself and Mark, our regular show, but Peter, who's our Code 47 second chair, joined me for that as well. Is that I just felt like it was 30 seconds of excitement versus 32 minutes of walking in boredom. And then, and you had a major character who's been the driving force of the series so far as an assassin. And again, we're in the episode 4 of 8. Suddenly just say, nope, I'm giving it up. I'm not interested in being a killer anymore.
It's such a bad turn of motivation. I'm like,
right.
I mean, even remotely character development and plot and things like.
Yeah,
I just felt like that. Who approved that, or it's who thought that was a good idea, and who would say that's a great crafting of a story? I mean, it just to your point. I mean,
and the whole of it was the episode was focused around going to a remote planet to find the third of the fourth Jedi that was targeted for death, and then we got absolutely no play. It was Master Kelnaka, who's the Wookiee Jedi. Everyone is very excited about, and then he was murdered off screen. It's just like, come on.
Apparently, lightsabers can kill again.
Yeah,
if you get slashed,
because you see our main character. One of our main characters walks into Kelnaka's freighter home and is speaking to him. Is it Osha or May? Now I can't keep it straight.
It's May because now May is going to be like, I didn't kill him, but you killed those others.
That's right, because she was there before. You saw my meme comparing May to Rick James.
Let's not do that.
I know it's a tough one. People are mean, but anyway, but Kelnaka simply took a slash basically on his upper chest from shoulder to shoulder, and that's what killed. Didn't even look like he got stabbed. It was just a cut.
It was just a
enough.
slash, yeah. Versus when it seems like everybody gets stabbed by a lightsaber, it just cauterizes the wound, regardless if it's through a kidney or a lung. You're okay.
Right. Well, a trip in a back could tank. But anyway, yeah, Kalnaka was. There's just no rhyme or reason what's going on here. So
yeah. There's a lot of controversy too that I feel like it's a whole bunch of nothing. Cad Udimundi, the Conehead,
the Conehead. Right. Yeah. They. He had a non-canonical birth date, which would preclude him being in the series. But then the people producing it decided that they wanted him as a cameo, so they changed it. But again, here's a very minor character that didn't have much of a canonical backstory, therefore giving the writers of this free reign to do whatever they choose. So, but people are up in arms about it because that's fandom, I guess.
It's like pitch meeting. Why? Because we wrote it. I mean, ultimately, and I think if anybody gets tied up in canon and Star Wars now, I'm like, you're going to be a very unhappy person because guess what? They will change it if it relies on the story.
Right, exactly. And it's something, and again, you're talking about changing a minor detail of an incredibly minor character. Yeah.
I'm just glad to see the Coneheads are back in pop culture.
Right, exactly. So you're really hoping that maybe you'll see Dan Aykroyd is really his crazy cousin or something, right?
Exactly. Consume mass quantities and use the Force, Luke.
Use the Force.
That's what he said.
Use the thread. Anyway.
So I'm going to ask you one more question. This is set 100 years in the past.
Yep.
Why does it look like it's still set in the same time frame? Nothing changed.
Well, I said that when you and Mark and I recorded on episodes 1 and 2. That's what drives me nuts about tech between now and all the way into the sequel trilogy. Tech never improves. It's the ships look the same. The little hologram thingies are
there's no technological improvements.
Yeah. I mean, you still have a back to tank is the cure all medical. Oh, you know what? I have a hangnail. I'm gonna stick my thumb in the Bacta and it'll fix it. Or I lost a hand.
Bacta, is it Bacta syringes or something now?
Did that appear in this? I missed that. But
yes.
I mean, think about our own. So the Star Wars films cover about 170 years of time frame from this to the end of the sequels. Look at our own medical technology here on Earth in the last 107. What was the pinnacle of medical technology 170 years ago?
Penicillin, I assume.
Right, exactly. Look at what we have now. So yeah, it's and they still have space.
We're also
travel.
not riding on horse and carriage, and we don't have coal trains anymore.
Exactly. Where you're right, it looks like absolutely nothing has changed except for the fact that Coruscant doesn't look as busy. It's lower to the ground. And I did catch this when they showed the Jedi Temple a couple times. There is, if you really drill down, there's a row of trees in front of it, which I think is very cool.
Is it the Tree of Life or whatever? The Jedi tree?
That's in the temple. This is just regular ass trees. Yeah. So you know what? That's the only thing that really
looks different.
Yeah,
remember that exciting in the first comic post Force Awakens.
Oh god. Oh, so anyway,
or
all right.
Post Jedi, that's right. Post Jedi.
Post Malone.
Remember that the first comic, official canonical comic, Post Jedi, and it was like the Force tree.
Oh yeah, it was the exactly, the Jedi tree of life. Which that's a thing because it showed up in Tales of the Jedi as well. But anyway, if you want to listen to Peter and myself and Mark break down that and episode 3 and a lot of the foolish controversy around that, please tune in the most recent episode of Holocron Chronicles, which you can find everywhere.
If you agree with me, start the hashtag Todd was right.
Hashtag Todd. Or, as always, write into our mailbag, secretfriendsunite@gmail.com, and give us your deep thoughts or let us know on the Discord or Threads or on Instagram. But anyway, all right.
DMs are open.
I'll go very quickly. I have been enjoying Todd and I on the Patreon. We're going to talk about the Duke miniseries, which was the first of the rebooted G.I. Joe IP when Image took it over, apart from Larry Hama's book, which I'm not, as I mentioned, I'm not currently reading it because they kind of lost me, and maybe it's because I I missed 150 issues because you can't find them. So there's another, because that was produced by Image and those are not in circulation anymore. So I know the classic series and then I know what's going on now, and I just am not enjoying it. But Duke was a 5-issue miniseries. Cobra Commander was a 5-issue miniseries. Those are very exciting. Now we have the next two. I've talked about the first issue of Scarlet, and so I'm getting a feeling they're going to do 4 or 5-issue companion pieces, just about a single character.
It's like the MCU, Charlie. You introduce characters and then you bring them together.
Right, exactly. So this one is about Destro. So we're having we have a hero and a villain. So now we have, we started with the two big wigs, Duke and Cobra Commander, now Scarlet and Destro, and next might be, Snake Eyes and the Baroness, who knows? But we do get seeing things from Destro's perspective with Mars, his global weapons munitions factory. You see him out doing dirty dealings and, funding revolutionaries and stuff like that. And the consequences of it. You get appearances by Scrap Iron, who is the missile guy, who is one of the classic figures. Mercer, who is one of Slaughter's Marauders, who was a Cobra agent who turned to the good side. But before that, obviously, in this continuity, he works for Destro. And you get the villains of this piece, outside of Destro being the protagonist, I guess, are the Crimson Twins. Yeah, Tomax and Zaymont, and the Crimson Guardsmen, so who are part of Cobra, but extensive enterprises, because there's basically a munitions fair that they miss because they're busy sowing discontent amongst another third world government. So
like a gun show.
Yeah, like a big gun show. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I dig it. I think probably the Scarlet comic of the two of them is more exciting and a little bit more contemporary because it deals with ninjas and stuff, which is very synonymous with G.I. Joe with Snake Eyes, and that it did that comic included an appearance by Storm Shadow. But yeah, I'd recommend it. Those are available on Kindle, like every comic pretty much is. So I'd recommend it. So Todd, you've read Duke, or you have read Duke.
I will be doing it. Yes.
And have you read any of the Cobra Commander book? I think it's more your fit because it's a lot of weird and it's Cobra Law and stuff, and that's kind of more your jam. These next two, as I said, they're kind of working their way down. But yeah, you're right. I think eventually all these characters will call together into a new Energon continuity big book. So I'm excited. So I'd like it. And again, you can find it on Kindle. And like you'd mentioned, if you're listening to this sometime down the road, once those books have been out for just a couple of weeks, the price goes from $5 to about $1.79. So feel free to wait, save yourself some bucks, but it's worth it. I enjoy it. I read them new because, hey, readers, I want to let you know what I think. So that's what I'm digging. So that's it. All right. So that takes us out of the Geek Easy. Todd, got to get out that Air Qantas app. Time to get down to the land down under. Hologram Tina and the mutants await so that we can give them our thoughts here during the Summer of X on X-Men The Last Stand.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome for a topic or a game to be entertained, and we are now on week 3 of the Summer of X. We are counting down to Deadpool and Wolverine that happens at the end of July. This week, we are tackling X-Men 3, or X-Men The Last Stand. Never officially was 3, just X-Men The Last Stand. This came out in 2006. The human government develops a cure for mutations, and Jean Grey becomes a darker, uncontrollable person called the Phoenix, who allies with Magneto, causing escalation into all-out battle for the X-Men. Brett Ratner was brought in to direct this film. Bryan Singer went to make that Tom Cruise Nazi film.
No, he made Superman Returns, the one that you and I like and everybody else hates.
Oh, got it. Okay, and then Simon Kinberg and Zach Penn once again back for this. This is on Disney Plus, VOD, rental, and physical formats if you got the movie. And for the cast, I'll just look at new members. Kelsey Grammer as the Beast.
He was so blue and furry.
Yes. Vinnie Jones appearing as the Juggernaut. Kitty Pryde, Elliot Page had a bigger role in this. Ben Foster got to be the Angel in this. Other than that, we did have Dania Ramirez and a few other folks as mutants in this as well.
Yes. And because this was the kind of proper end of that series, again, we didn't get Alan Cummings back as Nightcrawler. He's just gone, and they didn't explain it because I got the feeling this was maybe 6 months to a year after the end of the last film, because Scott is still grieving, and stuff, and it just. But it also seems like, oh, okay, well, we made peace with the U.S. government. Now there's a different president, and there's a mutant in the cabinet. So it almost seems like maybe it was 3 whole years. But then again, Scott is really mopey.
It seems like a long time for him to be grieving. Yeah. So
I mean, to be so like broken, like you lose a loved one, I get it, but to be just like, well, Scott, get in counseling, bud. I mean, he just seemed like he was too overwhelmed.
It was a little long. Yeah, it was a little long.
Yeah.
Totally the love of your life, totally. But yeah, I feels like to your point, this one did feel closer in, like it was like maybe 6 months. But
right, but it seems hard to explain why there's now a brand new president.
Yeah,
and there's also there's Hank McCoy is in the Department of Mutant Affairs, which they didn't have 6 months ago. So it's very fuzzy. But I remember
they don't list dates really in here. They list 86 is when they went to see. So basically, it kicks off with Charles and Eric meeting Jean Grey and her parents. We get that invitation. We find out Jean is quite powerful, the most powerful level 5 mutant. But then we're also then set forward 10 years later in 1996, where we first meet, young
Warren Worthington III.
Correct. Cutting off his wings. We find out that. So that's 96. So then fast forward, assuming he's like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Not.
Right. Yeah, because again, the only real setting of the films, first film came out in 2000. Second one was 03. So these movies are all 3 years apart, kind of like the original Star Wars.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it's never pinned down when they actually start.
No.
And I
guess except this plot saying 86, 96. So 2006 to 10 years later.
But it said 20 years ago, 10 years ago. It didn't say 86 and 96.
Well, I'm just looking at IMDb what it tells right now, and it says 1986, 1996, and then 10 years later, if we're in 2006, if they're following
But that's an if. That the problem is that's an if that's not in the film. Somebody in IMDb
I assume we're in just modern time 2006. So that's where I'm set. But if it is 3 years after the last film ended,
with the way that everything gets all topsy turvy and timey wimey with the X-Men films, because then you get into the McAvoy films and you have the 2 Wolverine films, and none of it really plays very well with each other.
It's kind of irrelevant, I guess is the best way to say it. But we assume this is set at the time it was filmed, 2006. Good enough.
Exactly.
Essentially, we're fast forward. We find out that the lab is from Worthington II creates a cure. We find out how the cure is being made because it's essentially from a mutant called, in the comics, it was Leech. So Leech was...
It's interesting, his name, because when they're looking at a piece of paper, his little file, it does say Leech on it. So he's Leech in this as well.
And in the comic, he was green. He looked like a little green.
He was a little green guy with the beanie cap.
Yep. He and Artie would hang out together. Artie was like an orange, like a red skinned mutant little guys. Apparently they're able to just suck out the blood of Leech to make a cure.
And for some reason, Worthington Labs is at Alcatraz, the old prison, which is,
what else you can do with it?
What? That makes for an iconic. It's a state park, or it's a national park, so that's what it is. But that does make for an iconic final scene, which of course we'll get to in a moment. You can kind of understand why they wanted a great big set piece for something that was all filmed in Vancouver anyway. There's a mutant vaccine that permanently suppresses the mutant antibody, which is being called a cure. So naturally, it explodes into controversy. And correct me if I'm wrong, is that storyline adapted from something in the comics? Isn't that God Kills, or was that was that the previous?
No, that was Stryker and his son. No, this is a new story. Because there's never really been. Because if you think about it, we had like the gun that shot Storm, where she lost her powers.
Okay, so it's a little adaptation of a concept of it. So
and it's
and it's interspersed with being a direct sequel of events from the previous film where Jean appears to have been killed when the dam at Alkali Lake breaks, and she pushes them away so they can escape. But Scott, in his grieving 3 years later, drives there, and he's yelling at the universe and shooting his laser beams in the water, and that makes Jean come out. She's alive, and that has nothing to do with the Dark Phoenix saga that we saw in the comics, and that was a whole different thing, because Dark Phoenix became two different people, and Jean
Correct.
ended up in a cocoon at the bottom of Jamaica Bay, and when she was finally rescued years later, that's when we got X Factor. I remember all that.
Yep.
But so here's my question, and then eventually she goes on, and her powers become unlocked, and she kills Scott, fortunately or unfortunately, and she ends up with Magneto and his Brotherhood and all the cameo mutants. But here's my question: do you feel, and maybe I'm hopping ahead here and we can kind of dance around this, but do you feel that this story about the mutant cure, which I thought was a great storyline, would that have been better without the whole Dark Phoenix part?
That's
Like,
that's the thing, right? I mean, it
they
feels
kinda
like were they trying to?
they kind of smash the two together, and they just don't really seem to complement each other. And then you have the death. Scott is dead, and then when they're both trying to acquire Jean after she goes full Phoenixy, she kills Xavier, which is like, oh my god.
Well, yeah, I mean, because that's all lying into the fact that when she was young, Jean basically was showing so much power that there was
That she
some
had to be
elements
repressed.
to Jean where he repressed it. Now, we don't truly know if she knew that was done to her. It sounds like she didn't. So basically,
Right.
she felt like part of her was being denied.
Yeah,
Your
and
side did it to protect you.
Wolverine gets on his high horse and he's like, "Whoa!" Sometimes when you cage the beast wants to fight or whatever. And it's like, dude, you're a stone cold murderer. Maybe you shouldn't kind of try to take the high moral ground over some shit that
You
you
kind
don't
of expects a
understand.
little bit more from Xavier, right? You kind of like, I
Right,
can be an
yeah.
asshole, but aren't you not supposed to be you're supposed
Yeah,
to
aren't
be
you
the good guy?
the guy who never does anything wrong? But as we see, Xavier was totally on the money, because when Jean is out of control, she'll set the world on fire. It's bad. She's totally
Yes.
unstoppable. She's complete id. Like as you see, while she's macking on Wolverine and tearing his skin and everything and stuff. She's nothing but pure desire and danger.
Yeah,
so she really shouldn't be off the chain.
Her goal is just not to be controlled. That is all she wants. She doesn't want to be controlled. She can be easily swayed if she feels like you're helping her not be controlled, where Magneto basically takes advantage of that and leads her to go along. I mean, we do get some interesting story beats. So we Mystique is, obviously she was captured, and then there's a really cool mission to rescue Mystique in basically a rolling prison.
Which I loved. I made a note. I said, if you had a rolling prison, wouldn't you move it at night as opposed to in the broad daylight? Because Magneto has no problem tearing that apart and rescuing.
Exactly. I guess they can't make cars out of plastic.
Nope, can't do it. Yeah, but it's very telling that in the rescue, Mystique gets shot by the cure darts and loses her abilities.
Yes.
Then Magneto says, "Oh, you're so beautiful, but you're out." And
no, you were so beautiful, meaning he loved how she looked naturally, and how she's a human. You're dead.
He leaves her laying there naked and just walks away. Not super not cool, especially considering what ends up happening to Magneto in the third act. But anyway, not to jump ahead. So
I mean, so we're kind of gathering the forces along with us in the rescue. There were multiple mutants in the trailer. We get Jamie Madrox, the Multiple Man. We get we get Juggernaut, Vinnie Jones. I think that was a bodysuit. Was that a bodysuit?
Not a great Juggernaut, because really the Juggernaut that we see in Deadpool 2 is a very comic faithful adaptation of the Juggernaut, because he's supposed to be 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide, not just some guy in padded
in a brick helmet
or whatever.
Yeah,
in a brick helmet.
Let's see, who was the other?
Arclight was the very David Bowie looking, and couldn't really tell if it was boy or girl. And then you had the one Asian actor who was in Lost, played the guy with the spikes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then we do get like kind of like Magneto's trying to rally the troops. We do get him basically coming in to talk to them. He kind of recruits other people. To your point, we get Callisto. We get once again, forgot his name. You mentioned him from Lost. I don't know if it's
Oh,
listed here in my
I,
list.
I it's not in what you posted here. Sorry.
No, it's not, and it's probably further in. But yeah, so we do get some interesting like cameos of certain characters, which is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
We get Marrow when Wolverine is trying to track them down when he goes
Oh,
to the camp.
right.
We
Yeah.
get Marrow, but Marrow is a woman who can throw bone, basically knives. We get a
Right.
dude doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And I swear the dude was somebody, and there are little gay Wolverine ends up becoming, a much more central character because he ends up leading the team in the third act because
Yep.
there's only 6 X-Men in the end of it, which is weird because I guess that number is normal because really there's only like 6 or 7 Avengers. I guess that's pretty normal of a core team. And fortunately, they most of them have decent powers, like Kitty can run through things, which is great. She has this big tete-a-tete with the Juggernaut, and that's a fun part of it. And Storm does great. You have Colossus in the mix. Todd made me think of you when Colossus was walking down the hall when Bobby was like, "Where's Rogue?" Because Rogue is one of the characters who voluntarily takes the cure because her power.
Yeah,
is
she's
so,
a very small role in this.
yeah,
Obviously, Wolverine tells her, when she's hearing about this, she's very
yeah,
upset that she can't touch her boyfriend. She sees
yeah,
Bobby kind of. I think he's just being a nice friend to Kitty,
yeah,
and she mistakes it as like, oh, I think he's going to leave me for
yeah, right.
Kitty.
So he was,
But,
yeah. So she went off, and there's a great line at the end when she comes. I was going to say the thing that reminded me with Colossus about you is the big TV he's carrying reminds me of the TV we had in our apartment when we were in
oh yeah,
college. The
32
big,
inches and 300 pounds.
yeah, the big back-ended television. But no, at the very end, she does go and get the cure, but she comes back to say goodbye to Bobby. And he said, "Oh God, I didn't want this." And she said, "No, I wanted this. I want to have a normal life." So
Yeah,
she has this whole, yeah, which you know what? I get where she's coming from. And there's certainly an allegory when it comes to medication and things like that. And you can understand that while mutation is a blessing for some of these people because they can do great stuff and use it for good or for bad. For some people, it's not really a gift because they can't lead a life normal in any way, shape, or form. It's like if you're a mutant, but you're 15 feet tall and green with like 9 legs and 3 heads, that's not a great mutation.
no, you
You
can't
you
hide
can't
out.
really live. You can't
No,
really live. You can't
or
have a
like
job. And
Nightcrawler,
yeah.
right? Yeah, Nightcrawler was the same type of character. I did find it interesting. Callisto, they basically merged her abilities with Caliban because
Oh,
she
there
could
you go.
track mutants as well.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right, right.
a
Yeah,
mixed
because
bag of certain characters. Yeah,
they did mix them in, and a lot of them didn't get names. They were just like,
even
oh, it was
Psylocke was shown for a very quick minute because I'm like, who just
okay.
appeared through that wall? It was Psylocke. I'm like, oh, okay, they didn't even do her powers
But I mean,
right. Yeah,
this was one kind of like what we were talking about previously. It was filled with a lot of Easter eggs that, as
yeah,
a big fan, you could appreciate, but as a casual viewer, didn't really mess with anything, which I think is important because if you if you predicate too much of like, well, you really had to see this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing, it's what Marvel is running into,
yeah.
now with like, you got to watch all their shows so you know what's going on in the movies, and maybe that's a big part of why the Marvels failed, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, so we get to the third act. I think one of the greatest set pieces that you ever see is Magneto exerting the most of his power we've ever seen by picking up a central part of the Golden Gate Bridge. Of course, remember, San Francisco is our setting, and dragging it between mainland San Francisco to land on Alcatraz so his stream of army can just easily walk across. Couldn't he have just like made like a metal boat, and he could have,
Put them in a bunch of cars and say, "Get in the cars. I'm going to have you go over."
right?
He could
Because
have. He could have, Charlie.
because this was super cool. Let's face it.
Well, he's
You know what
also
I mean?
eliminating a bridge, so people can't get there easily now. Maybe.
Well, they wouldn't have been getting to Alcatraz anyway. They just do it on boats. So
I
anyway,
don't know.
part of it is ridiculous, but again, I think they were really going in Brett Ratner style, the director. I think it was very typical of the grand set piece. And of course, there's the big slug out at Alcatraz, and our 6 X-Men show up just in time. They had to, of course, fly across the country, but they have a supersonic jet.
Well,
Yeah,
they I think one thing I think that they finally learned is like, oh, bringing metal guns to fight Magneto, bad idea. They get rid of all of your metal, and here's
Yeah.
plastic weapons.
They have that. They have that whole where you see all the soldiers turning their stuff.
Yeah.
I swear to God, that was a voiceover from icon Arlie Ermy. Didn't that sound like him? But you never saw anybody.
It was. I saw that it was voiced, and I'm like, that's an odd choice.
Right,
but
sure.
I
mean, he's an iconic voice that I think people would pick up on. So I think it works.
Pay him for his voice, not his beautiful mug.
Right, exactly. Yes, absolutely. So anyway, big slug out. Kitty has to go in and rescue Leech from the Juggernaut. That's a cool set piece. You got to see Kelsey Grammer swinging around his beast was really weird. Like, it was really oddly choreographed, I thought. He
using him as like an ape. I mean, kind of that type of
maybe. Okay,
sure,
I see that. But everybody got their moment. But then eventually Jean, there's Iceman versus Pyro, because they were buddies in the previous film.
Yeah.
And then Magneto, they do a little 1-2 punch where Wolverine attacks him and is easily defeated, but then Beast jumps up behind him and stabs him with the cure. So Magneto loses his powers. He's not a mutant anymore. And then now it's Jean's turn. She steps up and she turns a bunch of soldiers to ash, but Wolverine is going to stop her, and he's walking towards her, and she's blowing him apart. His clothes are blown off, and I turned to April and I said, I hope she doesn't blow his pants off. That'd be the worst.
But his adamantium dong.
A damn dong mantium.
I was worried you were going to be okay there for a second. Like, you be able to get through this, Charlie?
I think I'm having a stroke. So he does finally get up to her, and in your very typical fashion, he's like, I love you. And she's like, save me. And so he stabs her, and she dies, and and that sets the scene for the Wolverine, which is, again, I don't know what it is about Jean, because the two of them never slept together, but apparently when you love Jean and she dies, you spend the next 5 to 7 years living in a cave, because that's what you see in the Wolverine
what you do,
movie.
man.
You just gotta go, I've had bad breakups in my time, but I never lived in a cave, nor did I grieve about it for 5 to 7 years.
She's the dream. She's the dream. Yeah.
She's the dream girl. So that's the end of it. So then we do
the school as well. The school is basically, there's a decision at the end. Do we keep the school open or not? And Beast's like, well, maybe we should. And then at the end, Ben Foster comes in and said, I've heard this place is safe for mutants. And then Halle Berry says, it is. And
that wasn't really at the end. It was before the third act. It was because he joined in. So remember, he saves his own dad when they try to chuck his dad. Yeah. So, but anyway, then the school goes on, and you see this great scene at the end where Leech is now a member of the school. He runs up and hugs Storm, and that's very nice. But you go back to San Francisco and see the bridges being rebuilt, and you have apparently this is in every city where you have old men playing chess in the park, and Wolverine sitting there or Magneto sitting there playing by himself, depowered, but he's trying, and he just barely makes one of the pieces moves, which means the cure does not permanently, obviously, suppress.
Or maybe it's suppressed. Maybe he won't get his powers back completely, or
if you follow the continuity, we see Rogue in the Rogue cut of X-Men. The Days of Future Past, which is the sequel to this, and Magneto has his powers back in that as well. So, but then again, remember Wolverine also gets his metal claws back. Days of Future Past
did a lot to basically change what happened in this movie too. So,
that's very true. Yeah, that's very true.
Because Singer didn't direct this film, obviously, and then he did direct that film. So I felt like he wanted some.
So it was kind of like a Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams Star Wars kind of thing.
Kind of, or like Lucas just like, I'm going to change it, and this is my version now, where we can have a really weird looking Jabba the Hutt. That's what it needed.
We could have a Pizza the Hut. So anyway, that's the film. So go ahead, please.
I was going to say, lastly, though, with the Magneto scene, if it had been an MCU film, Charlie, that would have been the stinger.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I don't think that makes it worth sitting through trail or the credits just to see that part. So
because the actual stinger goes back to just a bit when Xavier is running one of his classes earlier in the film, and he's like, "Here's my friend Moira McTaggart, and she's got this guy that seems very random. She presides over this guy who is perfectly healthy, but he has no consciousness or whatever. And then the stinger is that you go back to that same room, Moira comes in with a clipboard, and she's just like, 'Good morning, blah blah blah,' and then you hear Charles' voice go, 'Good morning, Moira,' and he's like, 'Oh, Charles, is that you?' in her big Scottish accent. And it's like, okay, so." That didn't make a lot of sense, but it felt like it was.
Wait, this had a stinger?
Yeah, you didn't know?
I looked at the credits. I was going through it. I'm like, is there anything at the end?
I seem to remember because I own this, but I just watched it on Disney Plus.
They cut it out of the Disney Plus version?
It's there, but you gotta tab through. Yeah, but that's the stinger. So look it up on YouTube.
What I hate with Disney Plus sometimes is instead of letting you watch the credits, it takes the credits away and is like you have to get the credits back to see what happened.
They're trying to force you to the next one. But anyway, yes, there is a stinger. You do have to sit through the credits.
Dang.
But that's the stinger. And as this is the last true film in this saga, it doesn't really make any difference.
Yeah.
But anyway, there is a stinger. So yes, you can find that, but you can also probably look it up on YouTube. So all right. So any final thoughts before we give it a rating?
I will say, I don't know why, but I was really thinking, oh God, this movie's going to be so horrible. Oh my God. And I'm like, and then I watched it. I'm like, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think it was less than X2, but
that's fair.
It wasn't like there was anything like, I mean, I'm the Juggernaut bitch is just like, that's a meme. It was a meme based upon a meme. But beyond that, I'm like, it's fine. I mean, it's serviceable. It wasn't as bad as the last two X-Men films with Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix.
I would agree with you to your point. I think as time goes on and there have been worse films in the X-Men franchise, it's the scales of justice. If there's more crap over there, it makes the other films kind of tilt up. So I liked, I'll go back, to piggyback off what I said earlier. I liked the mutant gene suppression thing and that being a controversial, great for some, bad for others, but if the government makes us take it, that's unacceptable, but that's not what was happening. So I liked that part, but to smush it together with Dark Phoenix, I mean, Dark Phoenix becomes especially bland as an X-Men story because it's been done 50 times. They did it in the cartoon. They did it here. They do it again in the McAvoy films. And it's just, and the two that were on film don't have anything to do with what we saw in the comics, which was a very epic, story of space and all this different stuff. And, the Phoenix being two different people and, Jean actually being in a cocoon, and then they bring her back and, Phoenix was never her in the first place, or Dark Phoenix never was. So, if you pulled the two stories apart, I think it would have made for a better film, but I'm kind of in the same camp with you. It's very serviceable, particularly in light of what happened with the McAvoy films, which started out super strong. I know First Class is one of your favorite X-Men films, but it was like a Boy Scout rocket racer car going straight down a hill with how bad it got. Oh, you're muted, bud. You're muted.
My dog was barking. Sorry. It's like too good, too bad. Too good, too bad. So
right.
Yeah, because we got this, and then we got Origins, and then we got the Wolverine and Logan. So then it's like
no, it was Wolverine, and then it was Days of. No.
I'm just talking about if you looked at like the Wolverine focused ones, you did get two of those. You had one bad one, and then you got First Class, and then Days of Future Past, and then the last two,
and then
bad
two
ones.
bad ones.
Yeah,
that definitely fits. So, all right, well, let's wrap it up. So, out of 9 claws, 10 claws, there's out of 10 fingers.
There's 6 claws. Look behind me.
There's 6 claws. So, out of 6 claws plus 4 claws being 10 claws, how many claws do you give this?
I'm gonna give it like a 6.5. So I don't know. One's mostly in. I'll give it a 6.5 just because there were some fun cameos, and I did like the story of the Cure, Warren Worthington kind of having a moment, and but the Dark Phoenix being thrown in is kind of like it just was a bad idea, and it turned out it could have been worse. By means, it could have been worse. It was just a wet fart in that. A turd in the
Right.
wind, as
turd in the
Venom
wind.
would say.
They really could have just given Jean like a movie off, and then they discovered her in the next
Why didn't
movie.
you give her like her spinoff and
Yeah.
her going through maybe coming, not revealing
Right.
herself to the mutants, kind of she's alive and she finds her path and then it
Right.
leads to something else. But
Right,
what if,
exactly.
Charlie? What if?
What if? So I'm with you. I'll probably go with the 6 for this because I found the Dark Phoenix kind of tack on to be useless. Because I really did, while that was the A story, if the B story, if you want to switch it, whatever it is, the anti, the mutant suppression one, I liked that very much. So I'm definitely going to say that was a spirit bit, but 6 out of 10. But again, end of an era, because next week we are heading into, what's our next X-Men film?
Look at me, behind me. It's his origin story. We get the Blob. We got Deadpool's premiere. Yeah.
And that's gonna be an interesting one, because while parts of it were really bad, it was a favorite of my son Noah, who turns 24 next week. So he was 9 when that movie came out.
Well,
and he
Charlie,
really loved it.
young kids have great taste.
Yes. Well, they all loved the prequels, didn't they?
Exactly. You know what? It's the kids that are wrong.
Oh, yes, exactly. So, but that'll be fun, because there were parts of that I did enjoy, but it is by all regular definitions a terrible film. But
It will be the movie, I think, that most greatly informs Wolverine and Deadpool movie. I guarantee you, Charlie.
Right. Yeah, I agree, because it was the film that they appeared in together. So anyway, all right, that is the show, friends. As always, thank you for joining us. Todd, where do people find you out there?
They follow me on the threads at Toxtra, at Secret Friends Unite. Check out our Discord, check out our YouTube channel, and check out our webpage, and also check out our Patreon just to get teasers of what we're doing, and you can see some of the past stuff we have. So check that out.
Correct, Amundo. And I am over on Threads and Instagram at the C3. TheCeeThree. Spell that sucker out. I do spend a heck of a lot of time over at our Secret Friends Unite Discord. April and I also started a Discord for Star Trek fans in Michigan. That's a fun, non-anything club-related thing that's called United Trekkers of Michigan. It's easy to find. And even if you're a Trekker that doesn't live in Michigan, we had to start somewhere. But it's just where people are talking about Star Trek, sharing stuff, etc. We would love to see you there. And with that, friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Snicked.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.